I've been playing the new LEGO Batman game since its release, and there's one thing that keeps sticking out to me as I play, both from an animation standpoint and an overall quality standpoint, which is, damn, they really went hard. There's a lot to appreciate about the art in this game. They've recreated Gotham City with incredible detail down to the very last brick. I could go on and on about a ton of it, but in this video I want to focus on how Batman controls and feels to play. Being a character built of just a couple pieces of digital plastic inherently brings a lot of restrictions. So how do the animators at TT Games achieve such a fluid character to play? To answer that, let's dig into the animation details of LEGO Batman: Legacy of the Dark Knight. Let's start with the animations you're probably going to see the most: his grounded locomotion, walk, run, and sprint. His walk and run both can be played at various speeds depending on how far you push the joystick. Some games will allow these two animations to slowly blend into each other as the speed increases. Here, however, they've opted to keep you in the walk or run animation, but adjust the speed at which it plays to match the speed the player is moving. This makes it so whatever anim you're seeing is something they've crafted and not an interpolation between two animations that the engine is creating. The walk is a great showcase of one of the key animation principles, which is squash and stretch. Squash and stretch is a principle that helps convey volume and flexibility. When Batman walks, you can see his body stretch as he takes a step forward, and squash as he plants his foot down on the ground for the next step. It's subtle, but think of it like the bouncy motion you feel as he walks around. Two of the biggest contributors to this feeling are his head and his chest. His head actually breaks the line of his shoulders to help it feel like it's stretching off his body and then squashing it right back down. At certain angles this is harder to see, but we can tell it's there by looking at him straight on, and you can feel it regardless. His spine also has a very teeny amount of stretch in it as he walks. This is one of the areas where the animators bend the rules of real plastic Lego and stretch it out to give you the feeling of bounce, without going too far off and making it not feel like plastic anymore. His run and sprint also have a great bounce to them. They push the spine a lot more in these, especially in the twist of it. You can see the upper half of the body twist from the lower to really get the feeling like he's pumping his arms back and forth. His run and his sprint also have what we call lean animations on them, meaning when you're sprinting and you turn the stick, you feel like his head goes first before the body as he leans in the direction you're going, before evening back out. All of these minor little details on the walk, run, and sprint result in Batman feeling really responsive to control, and keeps a lot of that playful or joyful energy that you'd want for something like Lego. Just running around the world itself is the joy. But let's face it, what kind of Batman game would it be if you walked everywhere? Grappling around and gliding is what we're here for, and these feel awesome as well. One of the things I love most about the Grapple is the very dynamic pose he hits when you're zipping around. Going for this more dynamic pose gives you a great read of his body as you feel the limbs being yanked by the power of the Grapple. It also helps differentiate it from his gliding pose, which he goes into after the launch. On the gameplay side, one of the things I really like about this grappling move is just how dynamic it is to use. You can grapple right to the ledge and clamber up, you can do a small jump past the ledge into flight, or you can even do a full launch high above the city for more distance on your glide. You can also cancel the grapple at any point and then re-grapple somewhere else immediately. It also conserves your momentum when you do this, so you always feel like he is actually traveling through the world and not just being magnetized to a specific point you've clicked on. Doing things this dynamically can sometimes be really tough on animation, as it creates a lot of scenarios that you need to account for with another animation. Am I traveling left and grappling right? Am I canceling the grapple and grappling again in another direction? You'd probably expect a more realistic result from a character who looks more realistic, but with the stylization of Batman being just a couple pieces of Lego, your mind is able to kind of fill the gaps without it needing to feel too real. The last thing I wanted to talk about was his gliding. Most of the heavy lifting here is obviously in his cape, the way it flutters and flaps around in the wind and gives a great sense of speed. Similar to the runs I mentioned earlier, he also has leans and looks where he's going when you turn the glider from side to side, to help him give him a sense of control and intention when he's moving. One very cool detail is how he almost prepares for landing ahead of actually landing on the ground. If you get close to the ground, you'll see his legs start to drop down almost like landing wheels on an airplane. This, however, isn't a canned animation that always plays, and instead is something that dynamically happens based on your distance to the ground. You can be about to land and then the floor could disappear beneath you and Batman will pull his legs back up. It's a really cool touch having him get ready to land before the actual landing animation kicks in. Another part of the glide that feels really good to use is his dive to the ground. One thing they added here that's different from the Arkham games is him floating up into this awesome anticipation pose before he starts diving back down. This gives you a split second to adjust your positioning and also decide if you want to fully commit to the dive, or just use it for a quick burst downwards only to go right back into the glide and continue moving. This is something I think you wouldn't expect a more realistic Batman to do, but in this cartoony LEGO version, it's something that just feels cool and makes sense for this style of game. It would have also been easy to put this dive bomb animation on all of the characters, but they actually all have their own unique versions of this, which is a really cool touch. It gives each character their own feeling when you dive towards the ground, even though they're all essentially the same body, being a few pieces of LEGO. They also did this for the Grapple launch animations as well. TT Games did not let the rigid body types of LEGO stop them from keeping their animations in character. The animators at TT Games really pushed themselves with this game. Working with characters with very few points of articulation could very easily end up with a game that kind of feels a bit stilted or clunky. They've achieved something that's really great here. We didn't even talk about the awesome combat or driving the various bat vehicles around the world of Gotham, but there's a lot to appreciate. I mean, hell, look at the rain in this game. Look at the streets and the lighting. It's truly a beautiful game, and one I'm sure to revisit many times in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a little something more about player control and how animation can help support something responsive. If you picked this game up, let me know what you think so far. I'd love to hear about it. Take care and keep those Gotham City streets safe.